Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I'm really excited to continue this case. So, last time we left off, the case got really crazy. Somebody threw a smoke grenade or something like that into the courtroom. And we're gonna find out exactly what's going on here, because this case, some things really are not starting to add up here. The Adventure of the Runaway Room, let's do it. Okay, so this is right after where we left off from. Smoke bomb or whatever detonated in the courtroom. The Old Bailey defendant's antechamber. What on earth just happened in there? Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened. Ms. Susato, I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke. A smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use. They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long. But who would have done something like that? The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently. Flee the courtroom? Why? Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear. A young girl? Then, could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was talking about? My thoughts exactly. So he wasn't lying. So remember, Mr. McGilded said that there was like a young girl that was inside the bus with him as well, and so that was like the fourth person that was there. What's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here. I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl. Who is she, I wonder? And what was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself? There's another matter that's troubling me. What's that? The 20 pence. Huh? Oh, according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly. But now it seems there were in fact 5 passengers, which means the figures don't seem to add up again. She's right. That is strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed to the courtroom. The trial will recommence in 5 minutes, so thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away. Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the direction of the trial. We'll know soon enough, Miss Susato. Okay, let's find out exactly what's going on here, because this is getting a bit ridiculous right now. 18 February, 1 p.m. Okay, the Old Bailey courtroom. There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded, look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before. Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Ziex. My lord? I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier. It seems to have been an advanced form of a smoke grenade of the sort typically employed by the army. Good gracious, the army? What in the devil's name? It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught, and now occupies the stand. Your name, girl? Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? No response. What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior? Nothing again. Ahem, if I may, my lord. Yes, Mr. McGilded? I think perhaps I ought to explain here. Why is it that this wee lass was here in the first place, and why she tried to bolt like that? This all tied up with the events of that night, so it is. Very well, Mr. McGilded, give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in the case. Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. Witness testimony. The young girl. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then, Begar, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at me feet, so I sat him up on the seat across from me. Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. I remained somewhat baffled, I confess, but from what I gather, on the night in question, this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus, is that correct? This exactly as the defense counsel said. The last was the fifth passenger, my lord. But then why were they all lying about there being a fifth passenger? Why did Beppo lie about that? Very well. The defense may now cross-examine the witnesses. Are you ready, counsel? Yes, my lord. Or rather, no. If I have no idea where to start... We're gonna be cross-examining our own client. You know, this wouldn't really be happening. Defense usually would have their client testify if they think that it would help them, but sometimes the lawyers that don't want the client to testify. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then, Begard, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me up. Okay, wait. Let's press this. And when you first got onto the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board? There were not. The cabin was empty, and there was no one on the roof deck either. You were the first passenger, as it were, I see. Aye, and that's why I took the backside as I did. 'Tis the most comfortable, so it is. But there's one thing I still don't understand. If Mr. McGilded is like the richest person in London, why is he riding the omnibus? You'd think this guy would have his own personal carriage. Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat? By all means, this is how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite the one in which the poor gentleman who was stabbed was sitting. Like I said, this is the most comfortable, where I feel most at ease. And of course, I enjoy gazing through the skylight from time to time as well.
Hold it!
A loud thud, you say, and a scream. Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? 'Twas like the sound of someone falling to the ground. That sort of noise. So you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor having been stabbed? Well now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me and I opened my eyes, there wasn't a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fella on the floor. You didn't see anyone. But at the same moment, you did hear a scream. Ah, from the seats above you on the roof deck, I presume. Not above me, no, my lord. It was from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before me eyes. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at me feet, so I set him up on the seat across from me.
Hold it!
You sat him up, the victim, you mean? That I did, on the seat across from me, as I said. I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you? Well, that's actually what you're supposed to do if there's a crime scene. 'Tis common courtesy, so it is. I find it a little hard to believe. Lord Van Ziex, now why would that be? You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in a carriage, any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is. Well now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business. The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest. Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them, and some would even see me dead. So I do try, where at all possible, to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble. Are you suggesting you were going to leave the man there? Heavens alive, no. I was always intending to report it, so I was. Only, I had a mind to find out the whys and wherefores first. The whys and wherefores. Right you are. There were some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling. That wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same? Yes. The scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim's collapsing. Scream at the same time as the victim collapsing. Then I turned out to find where that scream had come from, and bless me soul, what did I find?
Hold it!
I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim. So I did, sir, so I did. As far as I could see, that is. What do you mean by that? Well now, this, thing, the wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside. Good gracious. Under your backside? Wait, what? And when I lifted the seat on which I had been sitting, I found there was a wee cubby hole there for storage. Mr. Naruhodo, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember? Yes, of course. The whole bus was submitted as evidence. This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside. And that's when I found her. There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away.
Hold it!
You say she was hiding herself? Aye, that's right. 'Twas hard to see in the damn lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. When our eyes met, well, me heart nearly stopped beating in me chest. You're really overreacting this. Still and all, I pulled her out from under there, and sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chinwag with her. The seat opposite. That's right, just next to a dead gentleman there. You sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir? Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see? And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream, a fella's voice this time. Presumably, that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats. Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly. In other words, the previous witnesses did not in fact see you at all, Mr. McGilded. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was in fact this girl and the late Mr. Mason. I, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage out of sight. It is certainly plausible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and are readily confused perhaps with this young girl. After that, of course, with the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses. Thank you. I've heard enough. The events as explained are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is this girl? Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. Okay. Let's go in here, and let's see inside the omnibus for a moment here. Okay, so remember, he said that there was a place underneath the seat to hide. This seat has a handle, it seems. This is a storage compartment, but there's nothing in here. It's totally empty. Something doesn't seem right here. I can't put my finger on what it is. Okay, we've already read this. A pickpocket. What? This girl here, a petty thief? Order, order. Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question. What the? What the? What just happened? How dare you? What is the meaning of this? Ah. The girl. She's gone. Open your eyes. I'm over here. Good gracious, how? What was the point in that little sidestep? I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same. This dirty little dipper, you'll say, slipped up and got caught on the job. She got herself backed in a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on, that's what in your eds, ain't it? No, not at all. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the truth, not cast... What is she firing? Paint bombs? Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need, what I do, is these fingers. I'm a professional, alright? Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Let me guess. You don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs. Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day, down where they keep the four-wheel drags. It's nice, innit? I like the pink best. Ah, do not wave that thing in my direction again. What is going on in this court? So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question. This all right, lass. You can tell them the truth now. All right, yeah. It's just like the Irishman said. Okay, so Mr. McGilded is Irish. The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus on the night in question. All right, if I have to. Witness testimony. What the girl saw. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I'll tell you, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Then, after a while, I hear this loud bang. Nearly jumped out me skin. I did. And the screaming just came out. It's because of that this swell found me. He did help me get away, mind. Yes, he let you go. I fail to understand why you would let this street urchin go, Mr. McGilded. Oh, this simplicity itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. How? As I'm sure I said before, sir. I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself. I think a demonstration is called for. This is where I was sat that night, and the cubby hole of which you have spoken is underneath this seat, I presume. So she was hiding there. Yes. It does appear just large enough to accommodate someone of the girl's stature. Aye, but of course, the wee lass was stuck in there, because I'd park myself on the seat for the duration. Ah. So you see, that's why I let the lass bolt. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself a young girl was ruined, when all the time I knew she was innocent. Even though you must have realized your action would result in your own innocence being called into question. Not at all, my lord. Not at all. I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt on my own good name for the sake of the less fortunate. My goodness. What a perfect gentleman. My lord, this fine example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I'm ashamed of myself for ever doubting you, sir. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Saints alive. All 6 members of the jury consensual in their leaning to a verdict of not guilty. Mr. Naruhodo, this, well, it must mean what? That we're victorious. We've won. Are you sure?
Objection!
If the sight of my iron-heeled Wellington offends, pray do forgive the discourtesy. This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices. What? Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day. But you have no evidence that he did it. The witness's latest statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature. What do you mean, his true nature? Do you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witnesses put it, was included in their investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. It is noted in black and white here in the police report. Good lord. The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGilded's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat. What? Order, order. How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, counsel? Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to happen. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, okay. Me. When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail, as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find the condition of the under-seat compartment to be? Oh, to be sure, the young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy. Sorry? Go ahead, you tell the court now, fella. How this is all an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Ziex. Well, counsel, do you have something to say on this matter? How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment under a seat in the omnibus? Let's take a look one more time. It was empty, but something's not right here. He even says that something doesn't seem right. I'm gonna save here, not that I didn't look, I already looked. It was empty, but there's something not right here. Yes. I'm fairly sure it was empty. If I'm honest, my memory about all this is a little hazy. As I suspected. It seems, my lord, that this Eastern initiate has the scruples of a by-street wine merchant. Mr. Naruhodo. Perfect. This why this fella represented me, after all. He knows just what to say, does he not? Well now, it would seem the argument is moot. And the truth of the matter is there for use all to see, after all. That there cubbyhole under the seat is empty as the devil's heart, so it is. That we can be sure of, at least. Why do I feel like something's not right here? I feel it too. I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think. That compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. The guild's rules state that the omnibus should be properly and fully equipped at all times, so it certainly wouldn't have been empty in the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. That money lending and the pick purse are lying. Oh, great. I can't believe I was nearly taken in. The stinking rich are always stinkers, nothing but cowards, the lot of them. What? Oh no. It's a trick, of course it's a trick. Quite so, I must concur here. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Yes, but every time a different truth, it seems. Now it's 50-50 in the jury, my lord. I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly a verdict of not guilty this time would be wholly inappropriate. Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witnesses, please. Yes, my lord. What has happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted, almost beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. What the girls saw. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always.
Hold it!
So, you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run. Well, yeah. I mean, what's the point of spending a joey to make a few bob, eh? That's a rum idea, innit? I suppose she means there's no point spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Counsel, may I remind you that the girl is a petty thief. Kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants. Well, does that clear up the little mystery of the flares on all? 4 paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 to which the cabman testified. And 1 little scapegrace riding for free. The red conch of a driver always goes for some grub before his last run, see? So that's when I slip into the carriage and get meself hidden under the seat. Nice and easy, right? But your hiding place is a storage compartment, full of equipment for the coach, no? Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that out and cram it in a corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all the stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell you. It seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night.
Hold it!
A waste of time? Why is that? Well, most nights I'm on me own in the God permit at least some of the time. I beg your pardon, did you say God permit? Oh yeah, well, that's what my kind call it. You'd say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, any normal run, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while. And that's when you come out of your hiding place and get away. That's it. Only that night, this cove was sat on me seat from the start, and he didn't budge the whole way, did he? Not 1 inch. I was totally stuck. Do you mean to tell us that you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while events unfolded in the unclosed cabin? Yeah. Right. Mister? To be sure, I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift a cushion you've been sat on and find a child now, do you? So this Miss Lestrade couldn't possibly be the culprit then. I'll tell you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there.
Hold it!
So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all? Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up, weave me head, and look out the crack. Then I could have a butcher's at whose I'm gonna fiddle. I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other one, see? So most of the time, the passengers plant themselves opposite. It's kind of crazy how, like, in this game, you know, they're speaking, like, in English, like in Victorian era Britain. So, you know, the old-fashioned kind of English. But for some reason that night, this Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head. And for that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out, I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in a small dark place. It feels too much like being thrown in the clink. That's jail. But it's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's Obson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets in the open then? I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I had to just stick it out under there, nothing else for it. Then after a while, I heard this loud bang, nearly jumped out me skin, I did, and the scream just came out.
Hold it!
When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. And you let out a scream involuntarily. That's right, and then I felt the cushion over me. He'd get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes? Or not. It could equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not? Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment? Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the cushion and a quick butcher's while I had got the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up, the bloke who had fallen on the floor on the seat opposite. That matches Mr. McGilded's account, of course. But then, the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I should have never have risked looking. It's because of that this swell found me. He did help me get away, mind.
Hold it!
But why are you here at the trial? And when Mr. McGilded discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place. I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and sat me down the seat and all. Next to the victim, Mr. Mason? Yeah, that bloke had a knife in his guts. He was still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit and ended up falling onto me. Ugh, how awful. Both me and got covered in blood. It made me feel sick. So that explains how the witnesses saw 2 bloody hands. Both her hands covered in blood. That must be what the rooftop passengers saw. After that, I believe, you talked to Mr. McGilded for a while, is that correct? He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know me name and what I was up to and that. Then I heard something from above. Someone screamed. Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume. Well, I didn't want no one seeing me face, so I didn't look. Then the horses were drawn up smartish, and this here Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you can get away later." All 6 members of the jury decided the defendant was innocent. For one brief shining moment, yes. It's clear that they are still very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence among this new testimony, I'm sure we would clinch the verdict we want. Yes, I think you're right. And I have this, feeling. Something's bothering me, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. I feel something's wrong here, too. Before they looked up the horses, just like always, And this is like where Ace Attorney gets really hard, when you try to like figure everything out. And some of these cases get really hard. We got anything here? I think we already got this piece of evidence. I gotta bring up some evidence, but I don't know exactly what. You know, I remember when Ryu said earlier that why is she, you know, going to the trouble of hiding in an omnibus when she could pickpocket? You know, there's something there.
Hold it!
Let's skip through this. We already watched this.
Hold it! Well, no.
Oh, here we go. Something's here.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrange's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no. 'Twas nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was. I see, yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. Aye, and I don't know about ye-self, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah. I suppose it does, maybe. Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. Be jabbers, there's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue. Yes. What should we make of that last statement of hers? It's profoundly important. Let's look at the last statement. When you're in darkness, everything seems louder. My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important. Profoundly important, but all she said was that she heard nothing. Yes, which is profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it. I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern Mind Council, nevertheless. Miss Gina Lestrade, you will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please. What? Supplement? What are you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk, I know what you're trying to do. Well, it won't work on me. That's right, insult the judge. Always a good move. I was straining into my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring.
Hold it!
So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time since the moment you hid yourself? Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and have a butcher's to see what was what. But then, when I saw the swell getting on, I got me head down, so it didn't notice me. And Mr. McGilded sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah, would you Adam and Eve it, eh? What a mug. So then all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out there as soon as I heard him leave, see? But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped in there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving its pigs to the market, snoring like an old dog he was. Are there any conclusions we can draw from that, I wonder? You know, what about the, It doesn't add up. Miss Lestrade, what you have just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts. Huh? At odds? Are you sure, men? Absolutely. It seems my learned friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Ziex realized it too. Counsel, I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least. Yes, my lord. I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court. According to Miss Lestrade, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGilded snoring. But think, Ryanosuke, think. There's something else she should have heard. The murder. That's the only thing I think she could have heard. Let's save here. Oh, so she's really 17. But what would I use to describe the murder? The autopsy report? Oh, wait. Wait, how... I see it now. She should have heard the other person in the cabin. Because she said she just heard him snoring. But she should have heard Mason, too. Mason was inside also. I'm looking around at the crime scene, but it's most likely Mason. He should have heard this guy at least. If he wasn't sleeping, she should have heard something from him. Some kind of movement or something. Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on that night in question. Mason.
Take that!
Thrice fired Mason? Yes, I got it. Yes, my lord. The sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus. I got it. Order, order. Explain your reasoning, counsel. Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus, is that correct? Yes, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGilded. That it was. Not a soul was in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at the time. Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him get on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on his own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time, did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. That's exactly what I was listening for, weren't it? Waiting for this well to leave. But then how did he get on? In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage? Ah. We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did or did not hear is at odds with the facts. She could be lying too. Yes, this petty thief statement was clearly flawed. Lord Van Ziex. Yes, he knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement. Oh, he's laughing, not good. It would seem words of thanks are in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more. He's dead, right? How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever. And this girl is a pickpocket. Let's not forget that. Oh no, Granny, don't do it. No! Ah, she didn't even say anything. I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she has some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars. And neither can I. Mr. Foreman, I didn't want to judge the girl just because she has some less than salubrious ways. But I must say, I cannot abide liars. Oh no, not good. Ah. Mr. Naruhodo, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty. Stop drinking in court, you can't do that. While your consideration for others is refreshing, my friend, to the considerable troubles you have spared me. Yes, very refreshing. Ah. Ah, what are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern... Wow, he's mad. This is carnage, it's perfect. Juror number 2 is the only one left. Mr. Naruhodo, the way this is going, I know. If we can't find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGilded's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost. I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respectable gentlemen, but those of us in service know we must accept hard truths.
Hold it!
Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on the whole case. That's what I was thinking. How did Mason get on the omnibus? What are you saying? Counsel. I'm sorry, sir. Whatever do you mean? Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prorogue my adjudication. Explain yourself at once. When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand. And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage. If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. Have to really think. All 3 of them are possible, but I'm just thinking. Let's examine that carriage one more time. Wait. Is the skylight another entrance? Remember the bang that they heard? They heard a loud bang. Like something hitting the floor. He was dropped in from the ceiling. At least that's what I think. I can't see any other explanation for this. He was dropped in from the ceiling, so McGilded was sleeping, and Gina was underneath here. And as he was sleeping, this guy, or dead guy, I should say at that point, he fell from the ceiling. He wasn't in there already. There's another entrance. If the door wasn't opened even once, the only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way. I wonder what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. I think that's what the loud bang is, but behold, the omnibus is here for all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door, the other only has windows. Fixed windows, which cannot possibly be opened, in short. There is no entrance on the cabin under the door. I beg to differ, the ceiling, the skylight, he was dropped in through the skylight, that's what the loud bang was. That's what explains the blood on the floor, so the guy fell through the skylight and then McGilded picked him up and sat him down. Here.
Take that!
The answer is obvious. It can only have been the skylight. If it's the skylight, that means the witnesses are probably in on it.
Objection!
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However,
Objection!
the skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through.
Objection!
So you claim. But do you have a shred of evidence to support your able brain theory? The blood. The blood on the floor, the loud bump that was heard. That was the guy falling. Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor. I got it! I got it! Yes, which has already been explained. As the sound of the victim falling from his seat having been assaulted with a dagger. Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witnesses described? A noise loud enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry, in fact? Good gracious. Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it.
Objection!
You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. They're probably in on it, or it happened right before they got on. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony. Well, yes, that's true, but... Might a humble fella make a wee comment here? Mr. McGilded? To be sure now, that the two fellas who were sat on the roof that testified afore, said nothing of the victim falling through the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that this is not so much a case of them not saying, but this is the case of them being unable to say. What? I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. Would you not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Oh my goodness. Surely not. Those two chaps on the roof. You mean the ones who stuck that knife in the man were... Ah. Look at how scared they are. Just what are you insinuating here, you blitterer? You rotter, he said. You rotter. What are you insinuating? This is a flaming outrage. I have a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute. He'll give you a shiner in a minute, he said, and so will I. Mr. Fairplay, you're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and well-respected banker. And me, a very angry hatter. Suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts. It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. I protest in the strongest possible terms. That's right, I protest too, about you rotten scoundrel. What is going on here? Order, order, order. This is not the time, witnesses. I will not permit this wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the ante-room at once. But this is beyond reason, my lord. It's outrageous. It's very hurtful, you know. My lord, if I may comment. Go ahead, Lord Van Zieks. It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse witnesses without proof. Accuse? I never intended to. It seems, young Nipponese, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You propose to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without rooftop passengers being aware of the events. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have imitated their criminal guilt. In our British court of laws as what deemed a baseless accusation. I know I was rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought. What are we wasting time for? Get them to testify. I thought there was something fishy about that hat from the moment I laid eyes on that fella. We have to see this matter through now, one way or another. If there's filth and rubbish in our midst, we must dispose of it at once. What's happening, Mr. Naruhodo? The spectators in the public gallery they're in a complete frenzy. Mr. Fairplay, Mr. First. My lord? You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony, in reference to indictment brought by the defense. Yes, my lord. Look at how nervous they're getting now. I didn't come here for this. There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward. So now... And also, this guy's a hatter. You know that term, Mad Hatter? A lot of times, the hats were oftentimes made of mercury back then, and so people that were involved in the process of hat making actually went insane, refuting the accusation. That's why the term Mad Hatter exists. We were the only two people up on the roof deck, dead or alive, I can swear to that. If anything had happened while we were sitting, don't you think one or the other of us would have noticed? In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill this man. The skylight was shut the entire time, I tell you. We couldn't possibly have opened it. If you're so sure the victim fell through the skylight, where's your proof? I must say that on listening to his testimony, it is somewhat hard to imagine how either witnesses could have performed any malevolent act on this open rooftop deck without the other noticing forthwith. That's right, you see. We're innocent, I tell you. Although logically, of course, the argument falls down if the two of you were in collusion with one another. What? That's true. Eh? According to investigations by Scotland Yard, the two witnesses share no common dealings. Ha, well, I don't trust coppers any more than I trust the stinking rich. Something doesn't feel right here. The trial is going in our favor, really. So why do I feel so uneasy? Counsel for the defense, over to you. Your cross-examination, please. Oh yes, my lord.
Hold it!
So at no time did the victim, Mr. Mason, climb up to join you on the roof deck? Absolutely not, Dickon. No question about it, he said. None at all. Oh, but yes, of course, I remember seeing them both. I saw the victim inside the enclosed cabin talking with this man here. Is this true, Mr. McGilded? Dear me, my lord. At the risk of repeating myself, I boarded the omnibus alone and nodded off inside almost immediately. That's an outright lie, without doubt you were engaged in. Let me stop you there, fella, and ask, do you have any evidence at all? At all? Ah. This all about evidence in the courts these days, so it is. You do well to remember that. I saw you with my own eyes. This is going so well.
Hold it!
Well, it was on the final run of the omnibus at past 10 o'clock in the evening. It would certainly have been quite dark, perhaps too dark to see clearly. Is this some kind of a lark? Is this some kind of a joke, he said? Is that what this is? Or perhaps one or the other of you fell asleep briefly. Are you fair dinkum, sir? Are you serious, sir? That's what he said. It's impossible, I tell you. I'd give you the keys to the vault if you could fall asleep in that bitter cold. And if you did manage it, your eyelids would freeze shut and you'd never open them again. That's extreme. It was extreme, I tell you, and we had to put up with it, because this man had locked the door. Any true gent would have unlocked it and let me in when I knocked. I'm dreadfully sorry about that, young fella, but you see, I was away with the fairies, and I didn't hear ye at all. That's a lie, I saw you through the glass, you were talking to someone. Now, 'twas a cold night, so it was. People do be seeing things that aren't real in the cold, this hardly surprising. Seeing things. I believe we have reached an impasse here on this particular point. You. Don't take it personally now, lad. If I'm a suspect in this case, then it's only fair that you and the other fiend are too. Open and free competition is what a capitalist society is all about. This isn't a competition I should like to be involved in, really. In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill, the man.
Hold it!
So, you had never met Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason before? Oh, Lum, no. Not once, never. He'd never met the man before, he said. Never. And you, Mr. First, had no prior dealings with the victim either. That's right, sir. Hatters don't have much to do with the brick, makers, to be perfectly honest, sir. No, I imagine not. You see? How many different ways can I put this? Neither of us have the remotest connection to the gentlemen who were inside the cabin. Mr. McGilded knows something, look.
Excuse me.
Mr. McGilded. Yes, counsel, what can I be doing for you? Did the witness's last statement give you pause for thought somehow? Not the remotest connection. Is that right now, I wonder? What are you insinuating now? Ah, Mr. Fairplay, that's been too long, so it has. Eh? If I'm not very much mistaken, I believe this fast approaching, is it not, your repayment date? I beg your pardon. Hehehe, you borrowed 20 from me, sir. At an unconsiderable rate of interest, you trick me. It's extortion. Well now, is that a touch of begrudgery, is it? The sort of begrudgery that might motivate a fella to pass his crimes off on another. Ah. And young Mr. First. Me, sir. What do you want with me, sir? You do be making hats for a living, do you not? That there top hat sliding on your head. Is that one of your own creations, is it? Oh, well, I'm still just an apprentice, you understand. I'm learning to find the perfect fit for whatever fine gent walks through the door. Heh heh, the perfect fit, is it? Well, 'tis a very distinctive design, so it is. Many customers like it, I tell you. They like a distinctive touch. Customers. Such as thrice-fired Mason. Ah. His hat. There was a photographic print of the victim submitted as evidence for my lord. Oh, as this, you mean? The hat. I can't help thinking that the poor fella's hat looks distinctively familiar, wouldn't you say? Oh. That's one of my hats. Heh heh, aye, that it is. So it would seem the brickmaker was a customer of yours. Mr. McGilded knows something more, but he wants us to figure it out for some reason. The sort of customer I'd wager you could have had a wee quarrel with over the distinctiveness of the goods. Oh no, sir. Absolutely not, sir. Well, there's really nothing more to add. It wouldn't be right to say that the two fellas here haven't the remotest connection to the victim, you say. I rest my case. You little weasel, He's better at this than I am. Gosh, Mr. McGilded has certainly been through, in his research, hasn't he? He was gonna defend himself, after all. Please don't let me, little interruption, hold up the proceedings.
Hold it!
Are you quite certain about that? That's the skylight was shut the entire time. I'm gonna lose my block with you in a minute. He's gonna lose his rag with you in a minute. That's what he said. Take a look for yourself, go on. You see? It's shut fast now, just like it was on the night. So it is, of course. A fella the size of Mr. Mason could likely break right through it, still and all. What? Just looking at the size of the thing, you understand. Ah, now you hold on there, mister. The size of the thing means nothing. Not in its own. Sorry, guys. Not in its own. Let's consider the bigger picture here, shall we? Let's stop biting our cane, shall we? I was riding the omnibus on another occasion when, well, I broke wind loudly. I shocked myself with it as it happens. This is an unexpected confession, Mr. First. Oh, I just meant to say, well, the point is, I tried to open the skylight, you see. But, just my luck, I couldn't make it budge. The stench was terrible. Everyone was looking daggers at me, sir. I went as red as rouge, did I? Are you expecting me to sentence you? Oh, no, sir. The point is, the skylight can't be open. I tried and tried when I was inside the cabin of shame. Oh, she has something to say now.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade. It opens. The skylight, that is what we're talking about, right? Oh, no. All them skylights open dead easy. More easily than you can load the weapon. That's a lie, I tell you, otherwise when I broke wind, You can't do it from inside, you mug. Oh. Look, a few weeks ago, I was up on the roof deck of one of them drags. And I had a great haul, I mean. I had purses coming out of me ears. Miss Lestrade, this is not the forum to be eulogizing on the subject of your criminal activities. Well, anyways, I had a bit of a scare. When I lifted the last bloke's purse, he got wise to me. All 4 of them surrounded me, so I couldn't opt off the bus and leg it. So what I did was I used the skylight, opened the catch, and jumped right through. What? Yeah, the catch for them skylights is on top side. That's why you can't open them from the cabin. The skylight opens from the roof deck. Bailiff. Climb up on the roof of the omnibus at once and verify the witness's claims. See? Ah. Oh, my hat. See? Order, order, order. So it appears this street girl's statement is quite true. I don't believe it. The skylight opens. And from the roof deck. Mr. Naruhodo. This could be the clue we've been looking for. Well, counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. So the skylight opens. Perhaps I should investigate for myself. There's a lamp in the enclosed cabin, okay. Wow, whoa, what's this? Blood on the top. The guy was dead before he fell in the cabin. Yes, it does open very wide, doesn't it? Wide enough to kick someone like you through, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. Why someone like me? Ah, what is it? Look, just here. Look at this. That's, without question, it's blood. That's the evidence we need to prove this once and for all. Why would there be a blood stain there? Certainly it can't be unrelated to the case, can it? We got you now. We got you, Mr. Fairplay. You want proof? Here's your proof.
Objection!
On the night in question, the victim was fatally stabbed in the stomach. And immediately afterwards, the victim's body was pushed through the skylight into the cabin below. Those are the facts, and the irrefutable proof remains clearly visible in the omnibus that stands before us today in this very courtroom. What? That's utter humbug. You can't possibly have any evidence. No, you can't. I mean, we didn't do it, I tell you. It's impossible. Irrefutable proof. Here in this courtroom. Counsel. My lord. I believe everyone would appreciate a little clarification here, Where exactly within the omnibus the evidence located to which you allude? You will point out what it is that proves the victim fell from the roof deck through the skylight. This.
Got it!
By Jupiter, is that blood? This bloodstain proves two things. Firstly, when the incident occurred, the skylight of the omnibus was open. What? And secondly, the victim was already bleeding when he fell through the opening. Oh my. And so it follows that Mr. McGilded, who was inside the enclosed cabin himself at the time, cannot possibly be guilty of this crime. Order, order, order.
Hold it.
But, no more buts for you. But the blood could have sprayed up there when the fellow was stabbed inside the cabin. And only found its way to that one particular spot on the skylight, sure. And that would be very convenient. Ah. And let's keep in mind, the skylight catch can only be unfastened from the roof deck. I myself wouldn't have been able to open it now, would I? But, no more buts. There's no way to know for certain, is there? If the gent really fell through the skylight, I mean. The proof is that when the thing closes, blood couldn't have gotten in there if it closed. Yeah, look at the floor. This all too plain, if you see. There's the aftermath that shows the poor fella dropped from the fair height right there, so it is. What? No. But it can't be. It's all lies. My fellow jury members, I think we can all agree that this is clear proof of the defendant's innocence, can't we? I believe we can, yes, sir. It's clear to me now where the filthy rubbish can be found in this courtroom. So, they thought they could pull the wool over my eyes, did they? I won't tolerate any of the guild's carriages being sullied with blood. I won't tolerate it. Oh, I always knew that nice gentleman who gave us that delightful park couldn't have done such a thing. On 3, then. Everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Objection.
What else do you have to say, Van ZX? A chilling performance, Mr. McGilded. Oh, and what would you be referring to there now, Lord Van ZX? A bloodstain on the frame of the skylight. Such evidence is null and void. What? Why? Oh, he's gonna bring up the fact that the stuff in the baggages was gone, so he's gonna say the evidence was tampered with. That's what he's gonna probably say. Let's see. For one simple reason. That smear of blood never existed.
Objection.
What are you talking about? It's there for all to see, and it's clearly blood.
Objection.
I personally attended Scotland Yard's investigation of the omnibus. The officers involved went over the carriage with a fine-tooth comb. So I can state with absolute certainty, no such smear of blood existed in the carriage. At least not until this trial began. He's doing what I thought he'd do. But, are you suggesting, Lord Van Zix, that this stain of blood was fabricated, my lord? Yes. And while the court has been in session. What? What a pay-liver. I must say, I didn't expect such a crude reasoning from a prosecutor of your standing, Lord Van ZX. But I'm Magnus McGilded, a fella known all over the capital for his fine contributions to public life. I don't take kindly to slander, and I'll fight it to the bitter end. Even if it's rolling off the tongue of the Reaper of the Bailey. Mr. McGilded, I realize this is your first appearance in court as the accused. However, I am well aware of your involvement behind the scenes in a great many affairs of dubious nature. You're very adept when it comes to avoiding getting your own hands dirty. And each time it happens that a case you're involved in is investigated, you adapt the facts. Adapt the facts? What does that even mean? When you wield a fortune the size of Mr. McGilded's, however, ill-gotten it may be, nothing is impossible. Tampering of evidence, manipulating the scene of a crime, bribing witnesses. I toast your ability to connect the most convenient of stories, sir. Tut-tut, Lord Van ZX, this will not do to be sure. Will it now, counsel? Oh, no. I think it's fair to say, this does all sound like a rather far-fetched excuse by a desperate man. The blood on the skylight didn't exist, you say. But, if yous will all cast your minds back, is it not true that the omnibus there has been in the courtroom this entire time? How could anyone have possibly put a smear of blood on it without the world and his wife seeing? Isn't that right now, counsel? It's true. The omnibus has been in full view the entire time that the court has been in session. My learned friend, Here's to hearing your opinion on this matter. In your own words. As you wish. Could someone have tampered with the omnibus during this trial? If you're asking me, I think. Trying to think now. I'm gonna save. Our job as a lawyer is to defend our client, but... have to think now. I don't see how anyone could have tampered with it in court. I'm trying to think right now. We've been at the omnibus several times. I don't know. I think it's out of the question. You know, this is the hardest question that I've been asked so far. I can't... Could somebody have tampered with it? At what point during the trial could that have happened? Wait. The smoke bomb. It could have happened during the smoke bomb. Oh, that. It could have happened during the smoke bomb incident. That's when it could have happened. Lord Van Ziex is right. Damn. It could have been possible. It is. It's possible. It was during this... Maybe it was that she wasn't trying to escape, but maybe she was trying to tamper with something. As a defense lawyer, my job to advocate for the defendant as best as I can, but still, I feel as though there's something even more important at stake here. There is no evidence to suggest that the defendant did as my learned friend suggests. However, in terms of having the opportunity to carry out the alleged tampering, there is one possibility. Oh? Good gracious. Explain yourself, counsel. It was during the smoke bomb incident. Yes, there is. It seems my learned Nipponese friend has no intention of running from this deceit. Deceit? I'm sure everyone still remembers clearly the recess that we were forced to take. As a result, the smoke grenade fired by the witness currently in the stand, Miss Gina Lestrade. What is going on? Be careful, Mr. Alhart, cover your face. I was right. It was during the smoke bomb. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Ensure the defendant is custody and clear the courtroom. The courtroom was filled with smoke, and everyone was thrown into confusion. All of us were made to leave the chamber. In that brief interval, under the veil of smoke and in all the chaos, it could have been possible to steal inside the omnibus. Are you wise? What are you trying to pull, ye rotten gouger? Feckless gouger? You're supposed to be defending me. This a wicked plot. 'Tis a plot to undermine me, so it is.
Objection!
Whatever you think this is, it changes nothing. The facts are the same. After this courtroom was evacuated earlier as a result of the smoke grenade, a number of inconsistencies materialized in relation to the omnibus. Inconsistencies, such as, to start with, the storage compartment underneath the rear passenger seat. It was empty, but he said that there was stuff in it before. When the police investigated the omnibus, this compartment was full of the driver's items. Secondly, we have the smear of blood on the edge of the skylight. As I have said, that was not present at the start of the trial this morning. Unfortunately, Lord Van ZX. Now you see, in real life, you know, because, like, you know, you'd have cameras in modern day. You would have cameras taking pictures of every part of that bus, and so we would be able to determine what was, but back then, like this, you didn't really have that technology to photograph every single thing. Unfortunately, no one is able to corroborate your claims. That's true. When the omnibus was first wheeled out, both the storage compartment and the skylight were shut. Accordingly, I'm afraid to say, we cannot establish with any certainty if this evidence is the result of tampering or not. Indeed, my lord. No doubt there was not a single person who saw fit to verify such things. What do you think? Sorry? About the omnibus. Is there anything else unusual about the omnibus? Oh, Phoenix Wright omnibus. That's definitely in a Easter egg. There's something else I'll say. I don't know if this is relevant, but... Look at this blood. Look at this. And look at this blood here. And then look at this blood. You notice anything? This blood looks fresh, while this blood looks dried. My lord. Yes, counsel. There is one further inconsistency. A mark that surely could not have been present at the start of the trial. What? What devil's name are you going to say now? If you dare to betray me, you little maggot, you'd better start watching your back.
Objection!
Silence, McGilded. The court awaits the defense's clarification. Grr. This trial keeps swinging one way and then the other. I have no idea what's the truth and what's deception. What am I supposed to believe here? Good point. I shall have to ask you to elaborate, counsel. Where exactly is the ledge mark you claimed appeared at some point during the trial? Damn, I wish I could look at the pictures again. Why doesn't it let me look at the pictures again? Because it's the... I would like to see the picture of the guy sitting down,
got it!
If we consider that the victim fell through the skylight onto the floor of the cabin, you would certainly expect to find signs of blood where he landed. But as far as I recall, this bloodstain on the cabin floor was not there when the omnibus was first brought into the courtroom. Good lord. Yes, I do believe you're correct, counsel. Well said. Although, as advocate for the defense, one might say that was a very careless slip of the tongue. I believe that bloodstain on the floor is a decisive piece of evidence. But if the question is whether the evidence is genuine, or whether it was unlawfully fabricated by someone, I feel compelled to admit that there's at least a possibility that the evidence is fake. This trial is over. Mr. McGilded? I've done everything I possibly can to cooperate with the court, but this all over now. But you're the defendant. This over, I tell ye. Memory, recollection of what people think they saw, this all a nonsense. Facts are what counts, and the fact is that bloodstain is there now. Well, and over the course of this desperate trial, long and extremely drawn out it has been, that good-for-nothing Reaper of the Bailey has failed to present any decisive evidence at all. I'm scandalized, so I am. I thought I'd better off Lord Van Ziex. Well, my lord? I must concur with the defendant. The unaffirmed recollections of an individual cannot stand as evidence. At this moment in time, the particular bloodstain in question is very much in existence, and the absence of any credible method by which to prove its alleged previous non-existence. I regret to say that it would be improper for this trial to continue. Your lordship can't be serious. Lord Van Ziex, what is your position? The prosecution, my lord, has no further witnesses or evidence to present. Very well. In that case, as I believe we have explored every plausible avenue in this matter, I shall proceed to my adjudication. As a formality, I am of course obliged to confirm with the defense first. What formality? As things stand at the moment, it would seem that Mr. McGilded will be found not guilty. Yes. Which would mean we've won. Is that really the right outcome here? Is it really alright for the trial to come to an end now of all these unexplained inconsistencies? No, it's not. Counsel for the defense. Your closing statement, please. Oh man, this feels weird right now. Trying to figure this out right now. Yes, my lord. The defense believes... Damn. I'm gonna save here. The defendant could be guilty, he could. But, like, at this point, I'm unsure. You know, who's telling the truth? What's going on here? There's fabricated evidence. You know, people are being deceitful. You know, this is, And like I said, the bloodstain. You could look at the bloodstain, and that bloodstain on the seat looks dry. The bloodstain on the floor looks like it's fresh. I don't remember seeing that bloodstain the first time that I went into the cabin. I would have noticed it. I am here in this courtroom today to advocate for the defense of my client, Mr. McGilded. However, at this moment in time, I cannot in all good conscience attest fully to the defendant's innocence. What are you saying, man? Without any question, there is no conclusive evidence to prove that the defendant is guilty. However, There is also no conclusive evidence to prove that he is innocent. Good. Gracious me. Order, order. This is unprecedented behavior, counsel. A defense lawyer calling the accused innocent into question. Are you sound of mind? Heh. Oh, 'twas a grand decision to appoint you as my lawyer, so it was. A grand decision. What? I must say, I didn't expect quite such an exciting spectacle at the end there, but still. Here, have this for your troubles. Your job here is done, fella, and some fine work you've done, so you have. What do you mean? This just as the right honorable gentleman so succinctly put it before. The trial can't go on anymore. And your closing statement there was, how did he put it now? Nothing more than a formality. I really don't know what to make of all this. Was the evidence we've seen genuine, or was it fake? His lordship would be fuming. Any unsightly rubbish should be disposed of promptly. The stinking rich are always guilty of something, you mark my words. I feel terribly ashamed that I ever doubted that lovely man who gave us the lovely park. Now that proceedings have unfolded in this way, I'm compelled to declare a premature end to this trial. Furthermore, the court must accept the defendant's plea. I thank you kindly, my lord. I hereby pronounce the verdict of this court. But we still haven't determined if the bloodstain in the omnibus is genuine or not. We don't know if these witnesses are telling the truth or a pack of lies. We have no idea about the truth. Lord Van Ziex, my lord, the case made by the prosecution was flawed, plain and simple. If indeed the omnibus presented as evidence was tampered with, the prosecution is at fault for allowing such a disgraceful perversion of justice to take place. My sincerest apologies, my lord.
Objection.
But, wait. When we were evacuated from the courtroom, Lord Van Ziex ordered the evidence to be secured. I'm afraid the prosecution cannot shun responsibility in this matter. That's so unfair. The culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to pro-offer judgment. What? Well, Lord Van Ziex, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. Do you mean to tell me this has all been a grand waste of time? This the law of the land, my good man. If you'd like to pursue this matter further, you can always go ahead and try to change the law. Magnus McGilded. Good grief, you've more to say to me, have ye? Just one thing, a warning. This is far from over. Well, something to be looking forward to then. I hereby pronounce the defendant, Mr. Magnus McGilded, not guilty. I don't know if we should be celebrating or not. I honestly don't know. This case has gotten weird. I can't believe it. This is an outrage. They should have examined the evidence more. What are you talking about? The man's been cleared. He's innocent. With the courtroom in pandemonium for the second time that day, the judge delivered his verdict, and my first ever trial in Great Britain came to an abrupt end. with the defendant being found not guilty. Ostensibly a victory for us. That certainly was a long trial. Yes, it was. Your first ever trial on foreign soil and your first victory. It was a wonderful performance. Doesn't feel like a victory. My heartfelt congratulations. And to you, Mrs. Sato, thank you for your assistance. I suppose we should be happy. The trouble is, we're still completely in the dark about what actually happened. Well, we didn't have enough time. But isn't it wrong? I mean, who was actually responsible for Mr. Mason's death? We don't even know that. The sole aim of the defense is to obtain a verdict that exonerates the defendant. You carried out your duty to perfection. Aye, that you did. Mr. McGilded. Ah, and that girl is with him too. Well, it seems the stories are true. Oh? What stories? About the 6 enormous fireworks they do be letting off when there's a verdict of not guilty. I'm sure you must have seen them now. Spectacular one, wouldn't you say? Yes, definitely. I heard it was a sight to behold, and to be sure it was. And I've told you to thank, I suppose, for having the opportunity to see it. I don't know about that. I'm not sure I really did anything. What on earth are you saying, fella? How did I walk out of there a free man, then? I don't think it was so much thanks to me as down to your planning. You're a straight-talking fella, aren't you? I must say, you had me astray in there once or twice. But you're young and headstrong. Wahaha. This water under the bridge. Congratulations, Mr. McGilded, on having your name cleared. But nothing's resolved. There's only one thing that matters to me. Oh? Aye. They've all seen that I didn't do that odious and absonant deed. This grand, is it not? I suppose it is. Now that fine fellas of Scotland Yard can take matters in hand and sort out any wee details. They'll see it for what it is. They'll get to the truth. We should probably call in Herlock Sholmes for this. I've absolute faith in them, so I have, after all. I do be providing a good number of their wages with all the taxes I pay. It's not that funny. So then, as we agreed aforehand, 1,000 for you troubles, fella. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly accept that much. Be whist. You're humble people, are you, from the east? Well, if you insist. But have this. They're still in all. You deserve a reward. Mr. Magnus McGilded. Everything is ready, sir, if you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. Into the courtroom? What's this, officer? This sooner than I was led to believe. I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule. Well, I must be making tracks now. This time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. They're going to examine it again. Now. After the trial's over. Naturally, I'm under no obligation to take part in any more of this matter now, but as an upstanding member of London society, I do be doing my best to help where I can. This is a gentleman's duty, so it is. So then, fare thee well. 'Twas an absolute pleasure meeting yous. I hope ye have a whale of a time while you're studying here in Great Britain. And there he goes, a free man. Oh, I forgot she was here too. Oh, come on, don't hit me with that again. Don't move. Where I want to say get a move on, she really does take forever to load that thing. Miss Lestrade, would you mind putting that thing down? You're a grown-up. Sorry? And I ate all grown-ups. There you are. Naughty, naughty. Running off like that. Is this some kind of picnic? Who's this little girl now? And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Wow, look at that. Excuse me, but who are you? Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. The inventor? Well, normal smoke grenades are so dull, don't you agree? White, white, and more white. If you have to be shrouded in smoke, it could at least be a pretty color, I thought to myself. Do we have to be shrouded in smoke, though? At all? I just took my eyes off it for a moment while I was changing onto a different omnibus, and she pinched it. Luckily, I fitted it with a telegraphic beacon. What's it what? I have no idea what this girl is talking about. Anyway, you're coming with me now, back to my laboratory. What? What for? To apologize, of course, silly, to my technician. What? You mean, say sorry? You must say sorry when you've done something wrong. Surely an adult has told you that before. An adult? I don't listen to no adults. Come along then, follow me. Fine, have it your way. Oh good, you see, I knew you'd want to do the right thing in the end. I'm fairly sure that's what she wants, is not to get shot by that massive gun of yours. We'll be leaving now then, bye-bye. I'm so sorry for all the fuss. She was a lively one. Well, do you think perhaps we ought to be on our way now too? Yes, you're right. But, where to? Oh, we haven't had time to find a place to stay. No sooner had we arrived in London than we had to rush. All our traveling cases are still with the bailiff. I was originally planning to spend today in search of lodgings, but at this late hour in the day, I'm afraid we may be out of luck. Don't worry though, I have a plan. If the worst comes to worst, I've heard of a lovely park where we could spend the night. Please tell me you're not thinking of McGilded Park. I know it may be a little chilly at this time of the year, but our youthfulness will see us through. I'm not so sure about that. I think a midwinter London night will freeze a young person solid as just easily as an elderly one. Oh dear, that doesn't sound agreeable. Now I'm starting to regret turning Mr. McGilded down. That 1,000 would have paid for a lovely warm room or mansion. And so, the trial to determine my worthiness for the study tour was over by the end of our first day in London. However, as we were soon to learn, there were more trying times ahead, just as the Reaper of the Bailey had warned. The case was far from over.
What's going on? Get the fire brigade! Water! Bring water!
What happened?
What the? How did this happen?
I don't know, sir. By the time I got here, it was already engulfed.
No one was supposed to be allowed in here before we started investigating.
Someone's inside?
No. Oh, good God. There's someone in there. Oh. Oh. This can't be.
What is going on here now? Who is guilty? Who is innocent? What is going on here? Damn. Oh my god. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. And please no spoilers, but just what you think. Who do you think is guilty here? Do you think it was the people on the deck? Fair play and first? Did they have something to do with it? Was the evidence fabricated? Is Mr. McGilded guilty or not? I don't know if he's guilty or not. He looks suspicious now. I'm suspicious of Mr. McGilded because this case has just turned upside down. It's like going back and forth, back and forth. Man, these cases are much better than the cases in the original Ace Attorney game, and they were really good. This case is really good. I'm starting to really like this, and I'm starting to really enjoy this. I want to get to the bottom of this and figure out what the hell is going on because something strange is going on in this courtroom. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.